Hey everyone, this is Chris Wilkinson with Smoky Mountain Process and Legal Services and Smoky Mountain Offender Tracking. A lot of you have been asking me lately, what is Smoky Mountain Offender Tracking? And so I'm going to do a series of videos to explain that, as well as how it all works, and talk about our new YouTube channel. So I'm just going to jump right in, because a lot of you will come on afterwards, and like I said, you'll be able to go to our YouTube channel and watch this as well as watch it here. So in 2024, legislation that was introduced by Tennessee Representative Doggett and Tennessee Representative Rose, called the Debbie and Marie Domestic Violence Prevention Act, was enacted and went into effect July 1st of last year here in Tennessee. And the law was, drafted in honor and in hopes of preventing any more domestic violence deaths of a lady and her daughter that were subsequently killed by their aggressor. So what the law actually says is that anyone charged with aggravated domestic violence, and for those who don't know, any aggravating factor can be something like a weapon, so knife, gun, rope. We've even had one with a rake. Anything that could be used as a weapon or strangulation required, at the judge's discretion, and we're finding most of the judges are very much on board with this, the placement of an ankle GPS monitor. And so, being is that we've long been committed to preventing domestic violence and have been supporters of the Knoxville Family Justice Center, we jumped on board with that and thought that was something that we would like to do. Now, what's interesting, they also added aggravated assault in there, but what is interesting is while GPS tracking and ankle monitors have been around for a long time, and that technology is not new, something that is new and also a requirement of the Debbie and Marie law is that victims have a way to be notified if their aggressor is nearby. So what happens is someone gets arrested, they get bond, they get, as part of their pre-trial release conditions, an ankle GPS monitor. We go to the jail, they come to one of our offices, we custom fit them for the monitor, but their victim has to have a way to be notified, and that's part of the law. So several manufacturers of the ankle monitors decided to tie it in with an app. So as I was explaining, what happens is, we get the call, we go to the jail, we fit them with the ankle monitor, get it in the system, and we assign a victim one of these. This is called a Guardian mini clip. And as you see, it's not very big, but we set exclusion zones. So once the offender is released from jail and we get this to the victim, we kind of set an invisible fence around the victim's house. But also in having this also sets an invisible fence around the victim. And generally what the orders are is anywhere that an aggressor has to stay anywhere from 500 to 1,000 feet away. So they have this, and it's linked to that ankle monitor. And if they come anywhere near this is gonna vibrate, and it's gonna beep, and it's gonna let the victim know, hey, my aggressor is nearby. One of the things that is super cool about this, and one of the reasons I went with this as opposed to an app system, which, not knocking the app system, it certainly falls within the regulations and the requirements of the law, But what it doesn't take into consideration is, what if a victim wants to leave home? Once they leave home, they're not protected, but with this, they are. So again, this is called the Guardian Mini Clip. And the other thing that's super cool about it, if you look here on the side, it appears to have a pin in it to kind of hold it together, because it clips to your clothes, kind of like that. But the other thing is, if something happens and the victim feels unsafe, they can press in on those, and that's the panic button. You can kind of see, well, if you watch the middle of the device, it's currently sending an alert. I don't have this one hooked up, but it's sending an alert to my computer console, which is watched 24/7. So this goes wherever the victim goes, as opposed to them being stuck at home or unsafe once they get away from the perimeter that's drawn around their house electronically. And we chose this because, you know, what's the point of having protection and having the ankle monitor if the victim then becomes a prisoner in their own house? You know, and again, not knocking the app systems, because they certainly fall within what the law requires, but we just thought that this was so much of a better option, and so this was why we went with this system. And it's not like you can accidentally set it off. You see I'm pushing it on one side, nothing happens. It takes me literally pushing the panic button on both sides to set it off. It's also letting me know it needs to be charged right now. But it, you know, it's a really good system. And so that is the primary difference when everybody's asked me, well, what's different about ankle monitoring now than what's been around there, you know, around here for, 20 years of ankle monitoring? And this right here, this is the game changer. So, I'm going to be doing a series of videos explaining how the law works, how the equipment works, and why we feel like this system is so much more superior than the other ones out there, and why we went with it. We are currently approved and have been placing monitors now for about 5 months in Monroe. Gotta think here, Meigs and Bradley County. Nope, not Meigs yet. We just got Meigs. Bradley, Monroe, and McMinn. I always confuse McMinn and Meigs. And we just got orders approved about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, for Roane, Loudon, Meigs, and Morgan County. So I will be filing those soon. In fact, the one in Roane County has already been ordered and filed. So and we're set up with the sheriff's department ready to go. So we'll also be able to place monitors, monitor those folks in those counties. Something that's happened that was kind of an unexpected thing, but also kind of a nice thing. In domestic violence, part of the issue is a lot of times people are accused of violating their protective order, and they go back to jail because they have no way of proving that they didn't violate their exclusion zone or their protective order. Again, game changer. One of my placement agents and I have literally been to court twice where one of our people were accused of violating their protective orders. They're riding up and down my street. They're this, they're that. No, they weren't. In fact, one guy wasn't even in the same state. He'd had permission on his bond conditions to leave the state. Meanwhile, his victim's calling the police saying he's riding up and down the road out in front of her house, and they're calling us like, hey, why aren't you reporting this? And because there's nothing to report. And I'm not saying one way or another about whether the original charges were fictitious or not. That's not up to me to decide. It's up to the judge to decide. But there was no question, because we were able to show on our Overwatch system and provide a printout of where they were the entire time, and they weren't anywhere near their victims. So that was something that even I didn't expect to happen when we started Smoky Mountain offender tracking. As we go on, we have some exciting things coming. We just launched our website weekend before last, so if you have any further questions, you can look at SmokyMountainOffenderTracking.com, or of course you can always reach out to me about any questions you might have. And we're gonna start having more of a presence in the counties that we have orders for, and we're gonna continue to grow. But we've got some really exciting things coming up. We've got a monitor that can do some really special things coming up. And we're going to also be offering a vehicle interlock device. Another reason that we decided to do Smoky Mountain offender tracking, aside from our commitment to domestic violence, is the providers that are out there right now are not providing Overwatch. And that's a problem. Some of our folks, or some of our competitors out there, are charging just an obscene amount of money. I'm not saying if you do the crime you shouldn't do the time or have to pay, and I certainly feel like being out on an ankle monitor is a privilege. But as opposed to being stuck in jail, it's absolutely a privilege. But on the same token, it shouldn't cost an arm and a leg. And when I found out that there were folks out there charging anywhere from $400 to $500 a week for monitoring, why do you want to get out of jail and on an ankle monitor so you can keep your home and keep your car and keep your job, but your entire check's having to go to ankle monitoring? So our rates are really reasonable. We charge $175 a week for regular GPS monitoring. And what I mean by regular GPS monitoring is if you have a high bond for another crime, or other charges, and the bond company requires it because your bond is higher. But we also do the domestic violence and aggravated assault for $200 a week. And from what I understand, our lowest competitor out there is charging $350 a week, and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't understand. We're to me, I don't understand why you'd want out of jail and be on an ankle monitor if you had to throw your whole check away on being monitored. So, that we wanted to make it affordable. Everybody is entitled. Just because they're accused of a crime does not mean that they're not entitled to a fair defense. It doesn't mean that they're not entitled to be out of jail on bond. It simply means that some people, in our opinion and in the law's opinion, require more oversight, and we can provide that oversight for a reasonable price, or I feel like a reasonable price, especially when I hear what my competitors are charging. I'm just really kind of mind blown about that. But also, I think in the long run, this is going to be a great thing for the courts, because it is going to free up situations where somebody has been falsely accused. We had a young man not too long ago come in and ask to be put on a monitor, even though the judge, because that's part of the Debbie and Marie laws, that a judge has the discretion not to order it. He came in and wanted it anyway because he didn't want to be falsely accused of being somewhere he wasn't. And so, we're glad to help folks out with that too. It's unfortunate that those situations happen, but when they do, we're there to help as well. We're not just here willy-nilly to send somebody back to jail. But I'll talk about that in some other videos in the coming days. But I just wanted to show you the thing I'm most proud of right here, and this is our little game changer, the Guardian mini clip. Because it allows the victim not to just be confined to their home. It's within, if their order says 500 to 1,000 feet, that exclusion zone is not just set around their house, but it's set within 500 to 1,000 feet of this as well. It's a good thing.